parents, grandparents, extremely religious.
Yeah.
Which was almost the tail end of a period.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. The Wesleyan revival.
That's right. My grandfather, Shay, mother's father, was very devout.
Was he Plymouth Brethren?
I don't know whether it was actually classified as any particular religion. Originally Salvation Army.
Yeah.
In London. My mother was one of General Booth's original.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Lasses. And they did a great job.
Yeah.
So,
your Shave, was he a preacher then, a lay preacher?
oh yes. And he was a local. Shave was a local family.
Mm.
He went away to sea quite early. That's a term in the Royal Navy. Somehow or other finished up in London.
Yeah.
Working as a tailor, of all things. There he met my grandmother.
Yeah.
And my mother was the oldest of a fairly large family, but very, very, very strict.
Yeah.
And Mum was painfully strict, but she was, as I said, a Salvation Army lass, the original, around Leighton and Leytonstone, that east side of London. She, I think my father met her at Poole. She was in service there, and I don't know what he was doing in Poole, but at any rate.
He seemed to be drifting around all over the place.
Dad was quite a traveller.
Yeah.
He loved travelling. Any rate, my early recollections at Brownscore, when my grandfather had come out of London back to his native village of Brownscore, and he was a shoemaker.
Yeah.
And of course his religious fervour was still with him, and there was this little gospel hall in which my other grandfather was one of the originators,
John Effemey.
John Effemey, and these, curiously enough, these religious groups kept together. They married.
Yeah.
They kept. Well, that was their strength, I suppose. And my grandfather shaved with the shoemakers, and their communion services was different to the Church of England. They had a whole bread, special little loaf made, which they used to actually break.
I hear the kettle going, so
Yeah,
just
okay.
pause.
Well, I remember, and I was no more than 4, I was in my grandfather's house, grandmother's house,
What's that, Shave?
Shave,
Yeah.
in Brownscore, Chapel Lane. And they had this little loaf on the table, and I must have been hungry, and I started picking bits out of it.
Yeah.
And my word, apparently I'd committed quite a sin.
Yeah.
Violating the Lord's bread, and I was severely treated, which I couldn't understand why. At any rate, that was the first. But well, from there, I had to attend the Gospel Hall at Neacroft, which was a mile distant, and I had to attend morning Sunday school
Yeah.
and sit through their awful boring communion service
Yeah.
of a Sunday. And my mother was so devout, she took sandwiches for lunch, and I had to sit through the afternoon Sunday school and also the evening service, year in and year out.
What did they used to go on about?
Well, it followed the same pattern. The basic gospel truth, I suppose, according to which were then they were the Plymouth Brethren, and there was all sorts of breakaways, the Wesleyans, the Congregationalists, the Brethren, the Plymouth Brethren, the exclusive Brethren, who were more narrow-minded than the others.
Yeah.
Extremely boring, although basically very honest. But to me it was terribly boring. They used to have huge gospel texts or religious texts around the gospel hall, and I used to count up the number of A's, the number of B's, the number of C's, and I could give you how many there were of each letter any time. I put up with this until I was about 14. Mind you, I used to get all first prizes. They gave quite good, nice books as prizes, and I was always in the, because I knew so much of the Bible.
Yeah.
And in later years, I've probably realised the truth of the scriptures. Over the period of time, there's this tremendous amount of truth and comfort. But at the time, when I was young, it was a complete bore.
Yeah.
And at 14, I began to assert myself, and
Did they used to preach?
who?
In the Brethren Church, was it?
Yes, there were anyone. Their communion service was very odd. They used to rather like the Quakers. They used to sit in a circle and take this loaf of bread and break it. I don't think they had real wine. It was an imitation wine, and there's complete silence, and then the Spirit moved one or other of them, and they made a little speech. And I had to sit through it all.
Hymn singing?
Oh, they had, yes, they were singing, accompanied by an harmonium, which is kind of a piano, or a cross between a piano and an organ.
Yeah.
Which the sound of which brings back to me awful memories of boredom. And summer evenings we went out onto the village green, Neacroft Green, and the harmonium was carried down, and with a view to saving all the sinners of the village.
Yeah.
But I felt extremely self-conscious and the target of the lads. But one good point about it all, it taught me not to care or worry what other people thought.
Yeah.
And my mum was very devout and sincere, and at school she even the Church of England was to well, their great enemy was the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And the Church of England was too formal for her,
Mm.
and I was not even allowed to attend the occasional church services when, being a Church of England school, we had to attend.
Yeah.
And I was kept in.
Yeah.
And when they all marched in and I was left there, I did feel quite conspicuous.
Mm. Were you the only Brethren kid in there?
Well, no, really. I was the only one who had to suffer that amount.
Yeah.
Didn't know there were others
Mm.
that attended church.
Yeah.
But again, it's taught me not to worry what people think about me. But at any rate, after the age of 14, I just wouldn't attend.
Mm.
Nearly broke my mum's heart, but I had my own life to live.
Mm.
And what I learned as a child is honesty and truthfulness.
What about your great uncle's religion then? My great uncle, your uncle Will.
Will?
Yeah, the Cunards. Where the hell?
Well, it was a racket.
Yeah.
He was caught up. There's several many religious rackets, and he was caught up in it.
When did he get caught up with it? In it?
I don't know exactly, or how, I don't know.
Mm.
But he was really, well, there's plenty now around.
Mm.
It's normal racket.
You didn't have too much to do with your mother, did you?
Who?
Will.
He seemed to be having a fight within himself. According to his doctrine, which was crafty, they had to have nothing to do at all with their relatives.
Mm.
And their newfound associates, fellow dukes, were supposed to be their new family, and they had to discard their own family.
Yeah.
But he was, to him, I suppose, his conscience got the better of him, and he didn't completely discard his family.
No.
In fact, when he died, he left some of money in his will.
Mm.
But normally, they had no children. Normally, the property would have come to my brother and I.
Yeah.
But that was carefully taken care of,
Yeah.
and we didn't see a halfpenny of that, which is really the object of their religion. Those who ran it became extremely rich at the expense of the brothers, etc.
Mm. The Brethren weren't really like that, though, were they?
No, the brethren weren't. They weren't. There was no commercial interest.
No.
In the brethren. They were. Most of them were quite honest and believed in their odd way of thinking.
Mm. But the Anglican Church, the Church of England, was the established church in the village.
Oh yes, the established church, and the local parson, and the local gentry, in the Church of England. And if you didn't belong, you were practically an outcast. You were chapel.
Yeah.
You were chapel. But there were quite a lot of chapel that didn't go along with the way of thinking, with the orthodox way of thinking. And of course in later years those churches become Methodists and free churches, and they're as arrogant as, or just a club, as much as ever the others were.
Mm.
But
Did-
my idea of religion is if you think anything of religion or you need a support, there's the Bible.
Socially, did the brethren and people like that feel themselves different or were outside the established order?
Yes, and they were rather proud of it.
Yeah.
And they were taught to suffer for the sake of the Lord.
Yeah.
And actually they sought after more suffering than was necessary.
The local gentry and the local establishment couldn't have liked them very much.
Oh no, they despised
Mm.
and suffered consequently.
Yeah.
But they were a very reliable, straightforward and honest set of people.
Yeah.
And my parents were, and my mother in particular, were exceptionally true to their belief.
Mm.
And were respected
Yeah.
for it. Even but it wasn't easy.
No.
Yeah.
I heard you said you have said that great grandfather Shave was quite wild though in his past.
Yes, the Shade family was a very old Branscore family. And he was in his youth, normal, went to the local pub, fought outside the Crown Inn at Branscore, did a bit of poaching. I forget what his actual work was. But at any rate, he ran off and joined the Navy, like a lot did, or the Army.
Yeah.
Which was pretty tough in those days. His ship was the first one that had a steam auxiliary engine
Yeah.
with sails, and it was a new ship, and it was quite a modern one for the time. And he had a trip to the West Indies, and the inner mate got fed up, and they thought they'd get out of the Navy, and they thought they were on the main coast of America.
Yeah.
And they was going to start a new life and leave the Navy. But apparently they were on an island, and they walked all night, and walked all around the island, and there in the morning was their ship still.
Yeah.
And he had 9 months prison for that, and chucked out.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of spirit in the Shaves.
Yeah. What about your grandmother, his wife?
I don't know very much about her. She was a Londoner, and he married her. I don't know how, I don't know the circumstances. But her father, that's my great-grandfather, was a cabinet maker in London.
Yeah.
And there may be something to do with me taking up the woodwork as a career. Although my Uncle Steve, that's my father's brother, he was a very clever woodworker.
The one went to Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was in this somewhere.
Mm. Yeah, you've also said that the Shaves were quite well off in London.
Yes, I believe they were,
Mm.
business-wise. Cabinet maker.
Yeah. Also, your mother's sisters did quite well, or their...
Yes, they did. There was quite a family. Mum was the oldest, and the younger ones, as used to happen in those days, usually fared better. One married an insurance agent, Sutherland, and had quite a comfortable life. There were several brothers on the east side of London, decorators. One went to Australia together with my father's brother, also went to Australia early in the century.
Yeah.
Did quite well. Again, came over with the Australian forces in the First World War.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing both of them.
Yeah.
I was quite young. All in the same religion.
Yeah.
They all kept their religion, which was this was a type of a mild form of Quakers, really.
Yeah.
Brethren. But basically, quite honest, straightforward. But that to me, I belong to no specific church. But if you have to have a faith, the Bible, and there's some wonderful writings in the Old Testament, and there's some wonderful writings in the Gospels, which centuries ago showed that people knew how to live. Pure socialism.
Yeah.
I think the teaching of Christ is pure socialism. It's taught. It's a teaching for people how people can live together successfully.
Yeah.
And to cut out greed and look after those that are not so well off.
Yeah.
Pure socialism, and Christ taught pure socialism, which of course is very unpopular thing ever since.